Hello folks, forgive the hand thing. I'm just reaching over and switching this camera on. It's difficult to hide the hand. How are we? Are we alright? Welcome to this edition of Lakey Blokes reviewing stuff and drinking it and generally quite enjoying it, hopefully type video thing. Look what I've got today. Now, you might be thinking, Roy, that's a Grolsch. No, it's not really. What I did before Christmas is Asda's had a special one. Well, I don't know whether they've got it on there. They may very well still have it on. You buy 3 bottles of Grolsch for, I think it was a £5. I don't really like Grolsch that much, but you know, I drank it anyway. Purely for the bottles, because they're quite nice, these bottles, and these bottles can be quite expensive, the flip tops, and I really like the flip top bottles, I have to say. You get some, you know, I mean, they are quite expensive to buy, but I don't know why I prefer these over normal bottles. It's a strange thing, it's a personal thing, of course. But what we've got in here is a Wilko's lager. Dee-dee! Every time I do that, it makes that sound. Dee-dee! Don't know why. But it's not just a normal Wilko's lager, folks, because the Wilko's lager, as you know, well, you may not know, but I'm here to tell you, is pretty plain and a little bit boring. And if you stick by what's on the tin, you're going to get a really thin lager. So we've got some additions in this particular lager, but I'm going to tell you about those in a second. What I'm going to do is open this up. It's cold, so it shouldn't go everywhere. Oh, lovely bit of steam. Give it a pour, folks. Here we go. It's lager colour, which is always a good thing, isn't it? We like the lager colour. You've probably seen me drink one of these in a previous Homebrew Wednesday video. That'll do for now. Quite well carbonated, which is fine for a lager, isn't it, folks? And the colour's not bad either. Really, it's quite clear, isn't it? And there's a little bit of a head on there, which appears to give off some lace in there, which is quite nice, which is what we like to see. However, before we sip this, folks, I'm going to tell you what's in it. So in this kit here, boom, 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 we've got a tin of Wilko's lager. It was in the sales. It cost me £8, and it gave 23 litres or 40 pints of lager. Very thin lager. If we'd have left it without any additions, I can assure you. But we took that into account. What I did this time around is I added a packet of Munton's Beer Kit enhancer, and that's got 500 grams of light malt extract and 500 grams of dextrose. The reason I did that is because during the same period of buying this particular lager, quite a nice little head on that, about a finger's worth, Munton's also had a little sale of all of their homebrew range, and the Munton's Beer Kit enhancer came out quite cheap. I think it was £4, something like that, and it was cheaper than buying the stuff separately, and I didn't have any stuff lying around, and I wanted to improve the kit, so I bought a packet of that. But I also had a little sachet, about that big, a little silver sachet of Flavour Pack Lager Edition. Now, I've no idea what's in there. I've got no idea what hops goes into a Flavour Pack Lager Edition pack, but there's some hops in there, definitely. And you get like a little tea bag of hops. Well, that's not strictly true, is it? There are 2 bags you get in there. There's some hops and some other additions. I bottled it in January, on the 5th of January, so I can't exactly remember the contents. However, there's some hops in there and some other bits and pieces. And I can't find out what's in the flavour pack. No one seems to know. If you search online, or if you know what's in there, leave me a message, let me know. So we've got a flavour pack in here as well to give it some more flavour. I think it's done the trick. It's to me it's quite smooth and it tastes like lager, which is what you want from a lager pack, folks, isn't it? Really, you can't really want more than a sort of lager type taste from a lager kit, can you? We've also got 250 grams of maltodextrin in there. I like to do that with lagers, chucking some maltodextrin. Sometimes I use 250, sometimes I go up to 300, and I don't generally do more than 300. I think 300 is probably the highest limit that we can go at. Otherwise, you know, your beer won't end up tasting particularly pleasant. You'll learn after a period of time how much of each ingredient you can chuck into your lager kit, which is how I know I can chuck in 250 or 300 at a push. Don't really want to go further than that. And it's with practice that you find out these things. If you're just getting into doing your own lagers and you're just using kits, you're not doing the all grains or the partial mashing and all of that stuff. You want to keep it simple. These kits are good, folks, honestly. The Wilko's one has got some bad reviews, and I have to say, on its own, it is very thin. However, you can improve it, and for £8, when it was in the sale, I think it's about £10.80 now, something like that. However, in the sale for £8, you can't go wrong really, can you? Snatch them up, put them away. When you fancy a lager, throw it on, put some additions in there, and away you go. Now, I've deliberately been banging on here for a minute or two, folks, because I wanted to give this lager time in the glass. And I've got two here. One I prepared earlier. Ta-da! This one has been in the glass and I've been drinking it for about 15 to 20 minutes. As you can see, let's just do that. There's lacing on the glass there. It's pretty good, folks. Pretty good. Whew. If someone served me that in a pub, I'd be well happy with that. It's quite smooth, but it's also got that lager taste that you want. It's really nice, guys. That one's been sitting there for about 10-15 minutes, as I said. Not as cold as this one that we've just opened. I'm really impressed with this, guys. As I say, I've done the kit on its own, and it's as thin as something very thin indeed. Naomi Campbell, maybe? It's as thin as Naomi Campbell. Is she still thin? I don't know. She's not as famous as she used to be, is she? What about some other thin tart? Can't think of anyone at the moment. Kate Moss, maybe. It's really good though. I mean, for look, on its own, that looks like a lager, doesn't it? Looks like a lager. Looks like a lager. Looks like a lager. It's like a lager. It's like a lager. It's got a little bit of a head on there, which is great. I do like a little bit of a head on the lager. Not too much, just a little bit. The carbonation's great, and it tastes great too, folks. So I'm going to pretend I didn't just finish off that beer. We'll do this as if I've just dove in and tasted it for the first time. So let's rewind that. Here we go, folks. I'm diving in for the first time. Really, really refreshing. Very smooth. Crisp. The additions have made a difference in there, folks. The flavour pack has given it a slight, you can't really smell it. Smells like a lager. The flavour pack has given it a slight hoppiness, very slight, and the light malt extract obviously has given it a little bit of body rather than just chucking a load of sugar in there. I'm very pleased with it, and I'm surprised I'm saying that for a Wilko's kit, because you know, Wilko's kits, if you read up on them, don't generally get very good reviews. However, you get what you pay for, and with a little bit of experience and a little bit of ingredients that are lying around, chucking them in, see what happens. You can get a really, really decent lager. So I'm going to have to score this one, guys, aren't I? Might have to have another sip to think about it. Look at the lacing. It's great, isn't it? Oh, you know what? I've done a Cooper's lager. I've done Cooper's Mexican Cerveza, which I absolutely loved, and I've done this Wilko's kit with the additions I mentioned, and I've got to say this Wilko's one with the additions I've mentioned is probably slightly better than the Cooper's lager. It's not as bitter, it's more smooth, more sort of rounded off with a crisp and clear profile, and the Cooper's one is slightly more bitter. And if you know me and you've been watching my previous videos, you'll know I prefer the lighter beers rather than the bitter beers. I prefer you know, like a low bitterness in my lagers, because you know, most lagers haven't really got that bitterness, otherwise they'd be bitters, wouldn't they? You need a sort of low to medium bitterness in a lager, I think, and this has got it, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think I was going to sip it then, but I changed my mind. The problem is that I think it probably needs another month or two to settle in the bottles, because I only got down to about there before the residue at the bottom of the bottle started mixing up, and I had to stop it before it got into the glass. So it probably needs another month or two to settle. But I mean, at the moment, this is a session beer, guys. This is worked out, I think it's around about 4.5%, there or thereabouts. And for a lager, I don't really want 7% or 8% lagers. I want a session lager, you know. I want to sit down in front of my PC, play some music, put my headphones on, have a couple of beers, get a little bit pissed, enjoy myself, talk to my mates, have some mates round, have a few beers, you know, have a party, whatever, and still be able to talk to them at the end of the day. And you could do that on this, you know. You could drink 7 or 8 pints of this. You'd be a little bit pissed, obviously, but you wouldn't be absolutely slaughtered. Which you would be, of course, if you were drinking an 8% lager. 8% lager, I can't imagine that. Ciders, of course, those people that know me for my ciders will know I don't like the strong ciders particularly either, because what I find happens with the strong ciders is if you go beyond 6%, you end up getting unconscious and falling over and forgetting at least 4 hours of your life, and no one wants that. You know, it's a very, very strange thing with the homebrew, you know. With the stronger ciders, I've found that you just get pissed really, really quickly, and it doesn't. It's not a gradual thing, you know. It doesn't just go. It goes pissed like that, and and I mean, I've fallen asleep at my desk before after having maybe 3 or 4 pints of 8% cider. It's not good, is it? And I want to be able to enjoy a drink. So I don't do the strong ciders anymore, folks. I used to do them, but I don't do them anymore. I certainly have no plans at all to do strong lagers. All of the lagers I've done to date have been around 4 to 5%, somewhere between the two usually. And they've all turned out pretty damn good, in all honesty. I've got a brother-in-law, hello Mick, woo, who did his first lager kit about 6 to 7 months ago, and he didn't have much luck with it, and I think that's probably because he just stuck to the kit itself, didn't put any additions in, so it came out quite thin, and also he didn't really put enough sugar in there when he went to carbonate the brews, so he ended up with a flat lager, which no one wants really, do they? And that's probably because he used the Cooper's drops. Don't use them, folks. It's cheaper to just get some normal sugar, you know. And if you're not going to use table sugar, you know, normal granulated sugar, get some caster sugar and use that. Don't use the bloody Cooper's drops, because you end up putting in 2.5 or 3 of those, and they're buggers. They just stick together and they get all over your hands, and it's, oh mate, it's a nightmare. I don't recommend using them. You know, if you want to buy them, it's fine, it's up to you, but I used them for about 3 months when I first started brewing, and I couldn't figure out why all of my ciders, because I did ciders initially, didn't do lagers, I couldn't figure out why. Oh, I've got a runny nose. I couldn't figure out why I was getting different results. So some were coming out flat, and some were coming out fizzy, and some were coming out overly carbonated, and I was getting mixed results by using the same amount of Cooper's drops, and I didn't like doing it. So what I do now, I've gone through 3 iterations of carbonation, folks, and I'm here to tell you the best way I've found so far is to bulk prime. I've done the Cooper's drops initially when I first started out. Varied success, as I say, mostly negative. I went through the routine of sticking a teaspoon of sugar into every single bottle as I was bottling. Man, that just takes up so much time. It really does. It's so painful. I mean, we all hate bottling, don't we? And I probably hate bottling more than you do, to be honest. I can't stand it. It takes 2 hours to bottle, you know, 40 pints, because you have to sanitize everything and make sure your bottles are clear and all that stuff. And if you're going to be putting sugar into bottles, you're going to be adding on at least another half hour, because you've got to make sure your spoon's clean, and when you just forget about it. So what I tend to do now, folks, is batch prime. When my brew is ready, I chuck it into a secondary fermenting vessel that I've sanitized. Obviously everything needs to be sanitized, folks. Over the top of some sugar that I've dissolved in water. Now for cider, I use about 180 grams of sugar for 40 pints of cider. Probably the same for lager, to be perfectly honest with you, because I like some fizzy. And I dissolve the 180 grams in around about more or less the same amount of millilitres of water. So I'll probably do 180 grams of sugar in 200 millilitres of water, on the stove, just dissolve it gently, right, and heat it up gently so that it dissolves without, you know, boiling it. Chuck it into the secondary vessel, siphon it off over the top of the sugar, just give it a little stir. I don't want to agitate it too much, give it a little stir as you start filling it up, and then just let it go, and then bottle more or less straight away, because as the secondary vessel fills up, it will mix up all that sugar into your liquid. And I've found, you may have different experiences, I've found that that's the best way to do it, and you end up saving quite a bit of time rather than putting a teaspoon of sugar into every single bottle. Of course, you do need a secondary fermenting vessel, but if you're into your home brewing seriously, and you know, you're doing it as a hobby, or you know, you're doing it to save some money because going to the pub nowadays costs a bloody fortune, you need to take out a mortgage, don't you folks, especially if you ain't got a job like me and you're a layabout. It costs a lot of money to go to the pub with your mates unless someone else is paying, and you know, it's so much cheaper to brew your own beer. 40 pence a pint, you know, I worked it out the other day, I was doing some brew, and with the additions it came out to something like 40 to 45 pence a pint, something like that. Bloody ridiculous, you know. Don't go to the shops and buy stuff, folks. Brew your own stuff and enjoy yourself. So while I'm enjoying the rest, in fact there's not much of it left, is there? I might have to go and get another one. While I'm finishing myself off, so to speak, I don't mean that in a rude way, by the way, I just thought I'd make that clear. While I'm finishing myself off, folks, I want to leave you with a quest, really, and the quest really is for you to tell me, or suggest to me rather, what you want me to do as my next lager. Now, the options are, I've got a Tetnan lager recipe pack, and that is all non-liquid, it's all dry materials, it's malt and things, and I'm going to be doing that. But what I might do is rather than use the safe lager yeast that comes with it, I might buy a safe lager, oh sorry, not a safe lager, a wire yeast lager, liquid lager, and grow that up and use that in future packs. But we'll go into that when I get around to doing that one. So that's option number one. Option number one is a Tetnan lager. Option number two is a Cooper's, bog standard Cooper's lager kit. And option number three is a Cooper's Mexican cerveza. But your challenge, folks, is with those three options to come up with something to tweak those kits. Now, when I say tweak, I don't want anything complicated, right? I've not got the materials to do grains, mashing and all that bollocks. I've not got any of that shit lying around. What I'm talking about is things like replacing, say, 500 grams of sugar with 500 grams of honey. Yeah, that kind of thing. Rather than using 500 grams of sugar, put in 500 grams of frozen mixed fruit. Saying that, that's coming up at some point soon, folks. Maybe in next week's Homebrew Wednesday video, in fact. Look out for that. So that kind of thing, yeah. I want some suggestions to try. God, I've had too many. I've had two. Look, I'm to try it, and because I haven't had a beer for like 8 days, to try and tweak a bog standard kit. What do you want to see next? Is there anything you want to see me doing with ciders, perhaps. You know, we've recently done a controlled experiment on whether additions to a bog standard turbo cider really make any difference. So is there anything like that you want to see me do? Because I am running out of ideas, really, and as I start to run out of ideas and it becomes more and more difficult for me to think of things to include in these videos, I like to have a chat with you. As you know, we like to babble on. Lakey blokes Babylon. Then it gets more difficult for me to carry on doing these because I feel like you're getting bored and I'm boring myself because I'm not really coming up with the goods. So my challenge to you folks is to give me something to do with the ingredients I have at my disposal. I've got some lager kits, as I've mentioned. We can do Cooper's lager with some additions. We can do Mexican cerveza. Have you got any ideas on how to tweak a Mexican cerveza, maybe? Or, you know, with the Tetnan lager pack that I know some of you have done. I think Ben's done it, and a couple of other guys have done it from brewuk.co.uk. Their website, they provide you with all of the dry materials you need to make that lager. But as I say, I might just swap the yeast out. Maybe there's a little addition to that you can perhaps think of something that will improve it or make it just put a twist on it. And we can do a joint Lakey Bloke / Brewtube community lager. We can do it together, folks. And I'll be there with you all the way, of course, because I'll video what I'm doing and I'll give you shout outs and kudos if it turns out good. If it turns out crap, I will also be naming and shaming, folks. But let's not forget, my origins are cider. And as you know, I've already mentioned in this video or the previous videos, I've been experimenting with cultivating my own yeast from smack packs, the Wyeast smack packs. That's come out really well. And also, you know, normal bog standard cider yeast. There's no reason for anybody to continue to purchase yeast. You can buy a liquid cider yeast for about £7, really. They are quite expensive, folks, but don't use it once. You've got a number of options available to you. What you can do is do a batch, just chuck it in, do a normal batch of cider or lager, whatever it is you want to do. Siphon off your lager when it's ready and it's fermented into your bottles or your keg or whatever you use, and then just do your next batch over the top of the yeast sediment that's left at the bottom of the fermenting vessel. Now, if you do it that way, you can probably get away with doing a maximum of 3 batches. The better way to do it is to get yourself a stir plate and cultivate your yeast up before you even put it into your brew, which is what I've done with the wire yeast and some of the other cider yeasts. The WLP 775 yeast that I used about 7 or 8 months ago is still being used by my friend Gary to do his ciders. He keeps using it and he's having excellent results, and we've both agreed that all of the experiments we've done to date with different cider yeasts, lager yeasts and ale yeasts in turbo ciders, the WLP 775 has been our favourite. It produces a really nice rounded off fruity apple cider with virtually no additions other than just apple juice. You get a really nice cider. So I do certainly recommend the WLP 775. Give it a go, folks. You won't regret it. And grow it up. You don't need a stir plate. You can get away with not using a stir plate, but it does help. So I'm gonna finish off now because I'm aware that I'm rambling. I'm not pissed, you know. I'm getting there. I've only had 2 pints. It's mental, isn't it? I'm going to go and get another. I haven't got any left. Bugger. I'm going to go and get another one of these Wilko's lagers from the shed, folks. So I'll love you and leave you for now. Hope you've enjoyed this week's ramblings. Thanks for sticking with me. Those of you that haven't subscribed and you've found this interesting, click the subscribe button wherever it is, just under there or up there. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down and tell me why. If you think I'm rambling on and I just need to stick to the facts, let me know. And I'll go with the majority, folks. Today, I'm finding that most of you are enjoying the ramblings, and that's a good thing, because it means I can continue talking bollocks, which I do enjoy doing, by the way. I do enjoy talking bollocks. It's my favourite thing to do, next to basically picking my nose and flicking it at the cat. So, cheers for joining me, guys. Look out for next week's Homebrew Wednesday video. It's going to be the Canadian Blonde lager kit with mixed fruit, frozen mixed fruit additions. So that should hopefully turn out really nice. Cheers and beers and queers, if that's what takes your fancy, or cheers and fears if you find things frightening. What else rhymes with cheers, Roy? You've dug yourself a hole, see if you can get out of this one. Cheers and things. Oh God. Oh, I'm tired, guys, I'm tired. Anyway, thanks for listening to my ramblings. I'll see you on the next video, folks. Cheers for now. Love you all.